Welcome everybody to another edition of the Hurry Up. I'm your host, Adam. Let's get into this. So, the Giants signed a few of their own, as well as a couple guys from outside. So let's get back into some of who they signed. Wyatt Davis. They signed Matt Breida. They signed Casey Kreider. They signed Jamie Gillian, Sterling Shepard, and I'm sure I'm missing somebody off the top of my head who the Giants re-signed from their own crop of players. Now, Wyatt Davis is kind of like the move. Cheap move, guy who can hopefully be in the offensive line rotation, maybe be a starter. I mean, he has some potential. He's a third-round pick out of Ohio State. Maybe Bobby Johnson can light a fire under his ass and get more than the other coaching staffs around the league couldn't do. Matt Breida, I don't think was a great move, especially when there's other backs out there that you could that were better potential backs. I don't think it's a big deal. So hopefully if they bring in a draft pick, a guy like Matt Breida and a guy like Sterling Shepard, if you bring in a receiver, can get kicked off the roster. Now, they don't like these guys, but let's be honest, it's time for new guard, new blood. Matt Breida is not a guy that if he doesn't play, you're going to miss him in the stat sheet. He didn't really do much last year. He has familiarity with the offense. That's probably why he's brought back as opposed to somebody else. But, I thought they would invest in more than just Gary Brightwell and Joshua Corbin and something else. Obviously, shows you they probably might be going and leaning towards a running back in the draft at some point, especially when you only have Barkley and Breida on one-year deals, respectively. Barkley on the franchise tag, that could change from now until July. They have until July to negotiate. Remember, the franchise tag, you don't have to play on. It's a placeholder for now. It's not until early July before training camp starts where you actually have to sign the tenure and become an exclusive right free agent. Become a franchise player. So that money is allocated for him, but it's just not on the books yet until July. This way they can work out a deal. We'll see what happens, but I would be surprised if he doesn't play on the franchise tag and then walks next year. You'll probably get a compensation pick for him. So that could be a possibility as well. As far as Sterling Shepard, again, some people are excited about the move. I care less about Sterling Shepard being here. He's great for the locker room. He's giving high fives. Who cares if he's giving high fives? I don't care about that. If you want him to be a coach, sign him to be a coach. If you're signing him to play, I expect him to compete and either not make the roster or make the roster. And if he doesn't make the roster, oh well, hopefully a guy that's younger and more healthy can make the roster. So remember, the Giants need 90 players. Not all these guys are going to make the team. However, there are going to be some guys brought back. We don't even know where Sterling Shepard is in this rehab process. And the Giants need bodies at receiver. Lord knows they have no bodies right there. They have like two guys on the roster that you can say that are definitely making the team. That's Wan'Dale Robinson, but he's not even – we don't even know when he's coming back. He got injured in November, so that takes at least a year. So I'm not expecting anything major from him at the early on of the season, maybe later on in the season. And then you have Isaiah Hodgins, who's coming back as well, definitely coming back. And then Sterling Shepard, but – Sterling Shepard. As far as the punter, I wouldn't have given him that money. He had a rough season last year. I think the Giants outbid themselves sometimes. I don't know if this is the Giants' way because we have a new regime in here, but it seems like there seems to be a little bit of that John Mara-esque type of, hey, we reward our players even if they're not the greatest ones. We like to keep our guys around, show that we have loyalty. Listen, man, sometimes change is a good thing. A punter is a dime a dozen. You can probably find one of those guys in the draft or somebody down in remember, this guy came off the Browns team. I think he was on their practice squad or Bills practice. It's not like they searched high and low to get this guy. It's not like he had a great year. Casey Kreider, on the other hand, that's an important signing because you need a long snapper for field goals and a guy that we've seen Trey Junkin. If you're a Giant fan, you know who Trey Junkin is. 2002 in San Francisco, worst snap of his career. Led to probably one of the craziest plays in Giants history. Don't want to relive it, but you know how important a long snapper is. So, going over some of the other moves, they have Raheem Nunez. He's a good run stuffer. That's all he is, really, run stuffer. He's not going to give you too many tackles. He's probably going to be there on first down, maybe second down, second and long, second and short, goal line situation, goal line packages, 3rd and 1. He's probably going to be in there when Jalen Hurts tries to run that, that QB sneak from 2 yards out, 1 yard out. He's going to be in those things. He'll give Dexter Lawrence a blow. DJ Davidson's coming back, so I think he'll be part of the rotation. So just think of this guy as replacing Justin Ellis. He's a little younger. So he might be here long term. They signed him to a 3-year deal. Doesn't necessarily mean he's going to see the full brunt of that 3-year deal, but we'll see what happens. You know, he brings a lot of energy and passion, good locker room guy. Giants are trying to bring in good locker room guys. Again, I don't care if you're good in the locker room as long as you're good on the field. Just give me guys who are dogs on the field, and you can do whatever you want in the locker room. I don't really give a damn. But he is a solid player. Good going forward. Again, another dog mentality on defense is what we need, kind of in the Jihad Ward kind of mentality. And then Bobby Okereke, liked him last year when he was playing with the Colts, stood out against us when the Giants played the Colts last year. Thought he was the only guy that didn't mail it in, so to speak, for the team, and that probably paid a big dividend when they were going over and reviewing the film from last year, not just all of his games, but obviously the film for last year. They had, firsthand knowledge of, this guy because he played against them. So let me tell you something. Let me talk to you. They did this with J.T. Thomas for the Jaguars a couple years ago. He played well against the Giants, and the Giants signed him the next year. Obviously, that didn't work out well. Hopefully, this will be a little better. Remember, J.T. Thomas came in and got a lot of injuries. That's why I think it sent his career back. But it's good to see that we have a guy who's good in the run, good in passing, good overall blitzer, doesn't get too swallowed up too much, does make a lot of tackles down the field as well. But I think he'll do well in this defense next to a Jared Davis or even a Darian Beavers or whoever they bring in as well. Meaning the linebacker market is still open. The Giants are still probably going to be shopping a little bit more. Receivers, they're in the mix for some trades. It's about whether or not they want to pull the trigger. Guys like Jared Jeudy and DeAndre Hopkins have been bandied about. Hopkins is a guy that, while I like him, is not necessarily a guy I want to invest in long term. If the Giants were further along in this rebuild process and they were more of a Super Bowl contender, I'd say yes, let's do it. What's a second round pick for a Super Bowl contender? But we don't know where the Giants are going to finish next year. They could take a step back for all we know. Like I said, this regime is very eerie to the Jim Fassel regime. Go take a look at it. Jim Fassel's coach of the year. Brian Daboll's coach of the year. They both had a tie. And the only time the Giants have had a tie in the last 25 years, Jim Fassel. Did I mention he won coach of the year? He won coach of the year. Brian Daboll won coach of the year, helping out a Duke quarterback. So many parallels. It's crazy. It's eerie. I know I'm talking way crazy. Adam, what are you talking about? Just look at it. I'm telling you, there might be something behind it. Anyways, Bullseye is going to be on our back. We're going to need to do better. The moves of Bobby Okereke really do improve this team. Raheem Nunez, Nacho, as I like to call him, good depth piece, solid depth signing. Not going to be anything to write home about. Don't tell me he's going to be a starter. Don't try to tell me and blow sunshine up my ass that he's going to be this Hall of Fame player, because he's not. Stats don't lie. They tell you the truth. Tape don't lie either. He's good. He is a solid run stuffer, but he is only going to be a 2-down player at best. Then in the Denny Shelton mode, in the Justin Ellis mode, hopefully gives us a little bit more protection than those two guys that I mentioned. But overall, I give the Giants right now a B+. I think some of the signings that they made were unnecessary for their team. But we'll see what happens. Long off season to go. Remember, Giants got to get to 90 players by April, I think, something like that, close to April. At least by training camp, there needs to be 90 players on the roster. So that's, I know it said April, but it's probably more like July. You need at least 90 players reporting to training camp. And those back-end roster guys are going to change from undrafted free agents to one-year pros to guys along those lines. But we'll see what happens. The other receiver they're linked to is Jerry Jeudy, a guy who you should have probably brought in last year if you had a chance to make the trade. Apparently, the Broncos wanted the first-round pick. That's probably why they walked away from the table. If you have to give up a second-round pick, do it. Just think of it as a second-round pick this year. You're getting a proven guy in Jerry Jeudy, and a guy that you have to hope and prove and blow sunshine up people's ass or gaslight them a little bit where like, well, this guy, A.T. Perry in the second round is going to be great. We have no idea it's going to be great. The reason why you have stats is you have a resume. You can lean on something and have knowledge of, hey, this guy at bare minimum is better than what we got here. And that's how you have to do it. You have to compare and contrast. That's what the NFL is. It's about a lot of comparisons, a lot of contrasting. You can't really project because, like the weather, it's unpredictable, especially in the NFL. So you can't sign a guy on projection. You can sign him on productivity and what you think he's going to give you in your offense. You can't forecast that he's going to have this many yards because injuries could happen, to the quarterback, to him. The team could just be playing badly. A lot of things could happen. So you can't project it. You never know. And the guy's got to be the right fit. Just because you trade for a guy doesn't necessarily mean he's going to take on to your culture, take on to your language, and take on to your jobs. I mean, this is people we're dealing with, human beings, and not robots. That's why I think people need to understand you can't just plug and play a guy all the time. It's not Med where you're looking at overall and you can pay, this guy's 90 overall, let me sign him. No, that's not how it works. People got lives, familyhood. Maybe they don't like New Jersey. Maybe they don't like New York. Maybe they don't like the coach. Maybe they do. Who knows? A myriad of things. Remember, it's free agency is about both sides wanting to come together and agree on something that works for them. If Bobby Okereke comes in and he might do well for the Colts, but what if he has a down season here when he adjusts, right? So you got to take it what it is. You got to look at for and face value and hope that these guys are going to do good. And we'll see. The Giants still have at this moment 11 draft picks. Let's see if that stays that way. Like I said, you get a guy like Jerry Jeudy for a second round pick. Don't worry about that second round pick. It's Jerry Jeudy, right? And you've already crossed your T's and dotted your I's right there. And then maybe you draft a corner, or maybe a linebacker or a tight end. I think that's another market the Giants are going to be in. I think the last thing I'll say is I think if you bring in a tight end that can play, like someone's banting about Mike Gesicki. I don't mind him when you have Bellinger and Gesicki. He'll do a lot of the dirty work that the Shepard's guy can't do, but maybe he'll be a red zone target. It depends. It really depends on what they believe that Daniel can accomplish in this offense. It's all about Daniel Jones now. Because you have Saquon Barkley here, you definitely can rely on him. You can't win with this conservative offense. If that's how they plan on winning, or that's what they think they're going to do by playing great defense and conservative offense, well, then you don't really need to bring in any big-time receivers. But if you're going to bring in big-time weapons, these guys are going to want the ball. These guys are going to be difference makers, and it's going to put ball in harm's way because guys are going to now focus on it. And you won't be able to run just 10-yard slant routes and turn and go. So we'll see. It's been an exciting time. Always exciting time of year. I can't believe it's already mid-March, and here we are. We're almost basically we're about 6 weeks away from the NFL draft, which is crazy. It's coming at us like a freight train. So look out for that. Look out for me, Jeffrey T, Mac the Giant fan, and Zion Zenith, as we bring you back, as Premium Takes comes back to you in your living room. We're talking everything from UFC, WWE, NFL, NHL, anything that's going on in the world of sports. We're going to cover it with Premium Takes. Hope you enjoyed this show. I will be back with the hurry up as more news comes in, but the Giants have had a good start so far. Like I said, a B+ to their free agency. We'll see how it turns out. This is the hurry up. Have a good one.